What's up guys, Mike here, and in this clip we're going to pitch the new Samsung Galaxy S4 to its predecessor, the popular Galaxy S3. We'll start with the looks, and to be frank, not much has changed from one generation to another. A seasoned eye, however, will spot the differences. The S4 is millimetrically narrower and slimmer than the S3, and its overall shape is slightly different too, with straighter edges and a flatter belly. Also, the silver strip of plastic on the sides has been redesigned and has an uniform width all around the body, while it was slightly tapered on the S3. And last but not least, the corners are more prominent on the S4, which does have a more rectangular shape than the S3. Plastic is used for the case in both phones, and the two are available in several different colors. However, the plastic on the S4 does feel and look a bit better with its glazed design. Also, the plastic used for the buttons feels sturdier on the new model. Looks and build quality aside, the two phones are nearly identical in terms of features and ports. Both have removable backplates, hiding a replaceable battery, the SIM and microSD card slots. The rear cameras and a single speaker is placed on the back. The buttons and connectors are placed nearly identically along the edges, but the S4 offers an IR blaster on top, while the S3 lacks this feature. Even the front face layout is pretty much similar. Under the screens there's the home button flanked by two capacitive menu and back controls on both devices, while on top there's the front facing camera, the speaker grille, the light and proximity sensors and the status LED. The S4 does pack a new IR sensor used for the newly implemented air gestures, but more about those a bit later. Even the two screens look similar, but they're actually not. The one on the Galaxy S4 is slightly larger with a 4.99-inch diagonal as opposed to the 4.8-inch one on the S3. Both use pan-tile matrices and Super AMOLED panels, but the one on the S4 is superior in many ways. First, it's a 1080p versus a 720p panel, second, it's brighter, and third, it uses a different technology that allows it to reproduce colors more accurately than the S3, although both tend to oversaturate colors. All in all, the Full HD display on the Galaxy S4 is going to be sharper than the one on its older kin, and that's actually going to be visible when reading texts and watching pictures with fine details. Besides that though, although like I said the screen on the S4 is slightly improved in many ways, you'll hardly see the differences unless you have the two phones side by side. What might matter more is the fact that the S4 is covered by Gorilla Glass 3, tougher but also more responsive than the Gorilla Glass 2 covering the S3, which means that you will be able to use your phone with gloves and all sorts of other objects, including for instance a fork. Software-wise, both handsets are running Android Jelly Bean 4.1.2 on the S3 and 4.2.2 on the S4, so the newer model does get a couple of extras. In both cases, Android is skinned by Samsung's TouchWiz UI and bundled with several Samsung apps and features. The S4 inherited most of the old ones from the S3 and added a couple on top. We're not getting in depth here, but features like S-Health that makes use of the new set of temperature pressure sensors and S-Translator that helps translate and read your text in several languages can be really useful. Samsung also extends the set of motion gestures offered last year with the S4, mainly built around the new IR sensor on top of the screen that can track your eyes or various hand movements. For instance, you can now preview the content from an app just by hovering your finger on top of it, you can surf through pictures by waving in front of the screen, and you can scroll up or down in the browser simply by moving your eyes in the right direction. You'll find more about this in my dedicated clip about the motion gestures implemented on the S4. Those aside, both handsets are snappy and can deal with all sorts of tasks from casual to heavy ones like watching full HD movies or playing games. Yes, the S4 is slightly more responsive than the S3, probably thanks to its faster processor and graphics, plus the extra amount of memory. Even so, it still gets sluggish from time to time, but at least that only happens occasionally. Let's move our attention over to the cameras bundled on these two handsets. The ones on the front, capable of taking 1080p video on the S4 and only 720p video on the S3, are great for video calls and chatting. On the back, there's a 13-megapixel shooter on the S4 and an 8-megapixel one on the older Galaxy. But since we don't judge cameras by numbers alone, I'll let the results speak for themselves. Also, the S4 offers plenty of extra features and shooting modes over the S3, starting with HDR video, continuing with the shooting modes borrowed from the Samsung Galaxy camera, dual shot that uses simultaneously the front and back shooter, and a set of filters applied in real time. More about those in my dedicated clip about the S4's camera. The S4 offers a larger screen and faster hardware than the Galaxy S3, both energy hungry. Luckily, it sports a larger battery too, and this allows the new Samsung flagship to offer good battery life. With average use, you'll be able to get about 2 days of use on a charge, which is better than what I got on the S3. Of course, the numbers will vary from case to case based on how and how much you're using your phone each day. Bottom point though, the S4 tends to last longer on a charge than the S3, and that's a great thing. Last but definitely not least for many of you, we should talk about prices. With the S4 hitting the store soon, you should expect prices for the S3 to drop. Thus, it would be fair to assume that with contract, the older model is going to be at least around $100 or 100 euros cheaper than the new one, while unlocked, the difference is going to be bigger, probably around $200 or euros. So you might wonder if the Galaxy S4 is worth the extra money, and to be frank, I can't really give you a straight answer. It depends. The S4 is more or less a brushed and upgraded S3. Samsung took their most popular smartphone ever, kept what was good and appreciated about it, and improved some of its aspects like the screen, hardware and battery life. They also focused a lot on making their software stand out from other Android platforms used by HTC, Sony, LG or others. But for me, most of the apps and gestures are a gimmick and not really a reason to favor the S4. Bottom point, if you have the S3 and can afford the S4, you could upgrade. But you could just as well stay put and continue using the S3, which is still a very good smartphone. On the other hand, if you're looking into buying a heavyweight Android device or want to upgrade from an older phone like a Galaxy S2, the S4 is clearly an option to consider, next to the HTC One and to some extent the Sony Xperia Z and the LG Optimus G. And with that in mind, it's time to end this video. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys think about the Galaxy S4 and whether you do or you do not find it a worthy upgrade for the S3. So please leave your replies below. Of course, I will post many other clips with the Galaxy S4 on my channel, so make sure to subscribe. And if you like this particular video, don't forget to share it and hit that thumbs up button. I'll see you in the next clip.